All right, I got 2 minutes past the hour, so I'm going to go ahead and get started here. Welcome, everyone, to our webinar this morning. This is part of our Advancing Fluid Power Technology Trends series, and I'm going to be speaking about key customer drivers and strategies for fluid power in industrial applications. This is actually part of a new project that NFPA is manning or staffing, if you will, this year, and that's the creation of a new industrial technology roadmap. So there's been some work done already in that space. I want to share some of the results, but also talk about the project and solicit people to get more involved and to help us have dialogues like this more frequently in the future. So as I said, uh, NFPA has been doing technology road mapping projects for many years now. I think we did our first technology roadmap back in 2008 or so. And it's a document that is refreshed periodically over that period of time. It has always been a project designed to address kind of all fluid power for all markets. And over the years, the document itself has taken on, um, based on the stakeholders that are involved in the project, a bias, if you will, towards mobile applications. And so late last year, our board decided that the industrial side of fluid power was important and that we should be focusing on fluid power innovations and fluid power development specifically for industrial markets as well. So we launched a new road mapping effort, the NFPA Industrial Technology Roadmap, and have started working on this project this year in 2025. When completed, our technology roadmap for the industrial market will be an industry-wide consensus regarding the pre-competitive research and development needs associated with improving the design, manufacture, and function of fluid power components and systems, specifically for industrial or sometimes what we call in-plant applications of fluid power. This R&D agenda will be focused on advancements to help fluid power better meet the needs of those industrial customers. It will be used by NFPA and many of our academic partners to guide those pre-competitive research efforts. And we expect that many NFPA members will use it as well to better understand the marketplace and to inform their own decisions about product development and research partnerships that they may want to enter into. We have a new task force, the Industrial Technology Task Force, which is the group that's going to be putting this document together. And we're planning to put this on a refresh cycle so that it's updated every 4 years. It's important to understand when we talk about these roadmap documents, what these roadmap documents are and how they're built. This slide shows kind of a glossary of terms, if you will, about the different elements that make up the roadmap itself. So our industrial roadmap, like our previous roadmaps, are going to be comprised of these 5 elements, each one building on the next and interconnecting with each other in an interdependent chain. The process begins with what we call customer drivers. These are the top-level performance objectives that our customers, OEMs or machine builders, the people that make the machines on which fluid power systems are placed, the top-level performance objectives that those companies have for their machines. Those objectives help those customers serve the needs of their own customers, the buyers of those machines. And it's important to understand that they are not necessarily connected to fluid power. They're machine level objectives. Connected to the customer drivers are customer strategies. These are the machine level objectives and technologies that those machine builders are using or have set to help them achieve those performance objectives. Those performance objectives described by our customer drivers. And again, what those customers are doing technologically on their machines are not necessarily connected to fluid power. It's again a machine level technology development that the roadmap initially analyzes. From there, we move into capability improvements. This is where fluid power comes in, knowing what those drivers are and knowing what the technology strategies are. We then develop a series of capability improvements for fluid power. How well does fluid power align with those customer strategies? And what areas do they need to develop in if they're going to increase, if fluid power is going to increase its participation in those technology trends. And then finally, once those capability improvements are identified, the roadmap identifies a series of research areas and targets. These are at the area level, broad areas of pre-competitive investigation that will help us bring about those capability improvements. And then finally, the targets are concrete objectives that quantify or otherwise describe successful strategies in pursuing the research areas. There's an example that I pulled off our most recent roadmap there to kind of show you how a driver is connected to a strategy, is connected to a capability improvement on down the line. So we've put together a process now, as I said, with this technology, with this industrial task force, to follow that pathway and to develop an industrial-based technology roadmap. Here we are in April of 2025, so you can see that we've just entered phase 3 of that project. And I'm going to be talking about some of the outcomes that resulted in phase 2, where we really focus down on those customer drivers and strategies. As you can see here, we'll be working on this project through the rest of this year, with final publication expected in November. So we had a meeting in late March or early March to look at some of the data that we had collected and to make some decisions about customer strategies and drivers. And in full disclosure, here is the list of volunteers who participated in that meeting. These are all members of our industrial task force. It's important for me to stress that this is an open invitation for anyone with interest anywhere in the supply chain to get involved and help set the direction. So if there's people on the call who would like to get more involved, you can drop me an email or put a note in the chat. We'll be happy to get you plugged in to this process as we go forward. So one of the first things we needed to do as we embarked on this project was really define what we're talking about in terms of industrial markets. We've been doing road mapping for many years, as I described before. And one area of continuing confusion that we've discovered is this word industrial sometimes means different things to different people. Different companies have different technology strategies. They group different markets in different ways. And so we really wanted to attempt to be as clear as we could about what NFPA means by industrial markets. And these would really form the basis of all of the discussions that came forward. NFPA, of course, can group fluid power's customer markets into two broad areas. Applications that are on different types of mobile or sometimes called off-highway equipment, and applications that are on different types of industrial or what we would call stationary or in-plant equipment. So our task force first came together and had a rich dialogue around how to define or which markets to focus on. and we put together the list of 14 large industrial markets for fluid power that you see there on the slide. And for a lot of these, it's important to remember that, again, we're talking about the in-plant machines. So the very first one there, aerospace manufacturing, as an example. The market that we're talking about is not the aircraft and the fluid power that may wind up on the aircraft. We're talking about the in-plant machines and equipment that are used to manufacture parts and products that go on aerospace applications. And so kind of with that mindset in mind, you can run through the rest of those, and that's really again and again different kinds of in-plant machines and equipment in different sectors, food product, medical equipment manufacturing, metalworking and machine tools, et cetera, et cetera. These are all large markets in the industrial space for fluid power technology. So as I said, we did a survey back in January with those markets defined. And most of our road mapping processes are driven by these broad surveys that we do of stakeholders in the marketplace. The 146 individuals that responded to this initial survey, that's among the highest response rate that we've ever had for one of our road mapping surveys. So I don't know if we're just getting better at this or whether we hit a nerve with our topic. But we had great response and we had great representation, as you can see by these pie charts, from across the supply chain and from across different job functions within the marketplace itself. And the survey really was designed to investigate two areas, the first two areas of the roadmap that I described. First up were the customer drivers. Again, these are the top level performance objectives that the builders of those industrial machines have. Our task force reviewed the customer drivers that were last identified on the previous roadmap and then had a discussion around their potential relevancy to the industrial marketplace. And they came up with this list to use in the survey. Increased availability and uptime, increased productivity and performance, lower total cost of ownership, and compliance with regulations, all from the existing roadmap. But they added sustainability as a potential customer driver that may have a relevance, again, within that industrial marketplace. And so we incorporated that into the survey as well. And the results or the response provides some very interesting insights into what's happening, if you will, in that industrial marketplace. First, we saw a lot of variation across the different markets. The way the survey was structured was let us know if you're familiar with market A, market B, market C. And then if you are, tell us rank these customer drivers in terms of the importance to that market. In the aggregate, 96% of the driver choices were rated as at least somewhat important, meaning we used a 1 to 5 scale here, so it was 3 or above 3. So to provide some more analysis, we took the response range of the averages. The highest was an average of 5, and the lowest was an average of 2.82. And we split that range up into response quintiles. So 5 equal portions of potential response over that range, and then color-coded those responses by which of those quintiles they fit into. So on this chart, the dark green and the light green represent responses in the upper 2 quintiles or the upper 40% of the response range that we saw. And when we look at the data that way, it's clear that increased availability and uptime and increased productivity and performance seem to be by far the most important customer drivers for all of the different markets that we're talking about within the industrial sector. It's interesting to see where else green shows up on this chart. So you can see lower total cost of ownership seems important for recycling equipment, and compliance with regulations seems like an important driver for aerospace, for food product machines, for medical equipment, and a few of the others that show up there as green as well. Interestingly, sustainability did not rate well. Again, everybody's above average, so the scores are certainly above 3 with a couple of exceptions. But within the range of responses, it was in the lowest quintiles of response for sustainability. So we also asked, so that was just rate them all on how important you think they are, and they could all be important on that scale. The second question we asked within the customer driver space was pick one. So forced choice, you can only pick one of these as the most important driver for the markets that you're familiar with. And so here again, well, it's a slightly different analysis, if you will. Here, the color codes are looking at the highest percentage of response for each driver for each of the markets. So the dark green is the one that most people said was most important for that market, and the light green is the one that was second most important based on people's responses. But again, you see those two choices aligning with increased availability and uptime and increased productivity and performance. By and large, one of those two was the first or second choice for almost every market. Again, a couple of interesting, there's a fair amount of distribution of opinion, if you will. Look at aerospace manufacturing as an example. Only 31% of the responders picked the first choice, followed by 23% of responders picked the second choice, which is actually compliance with regulations, not increased availability and uptime. So again, trying to make a decision about which of these drivers seem most important for the markets, it's a little fuzzier, if you will, for some of the markets as for others. And then we also asked, what did we miss? So we've just tested you as the survey responder on all of these different drivers. There may be other drivers that you're aware of that you would rank as important for the markets you're familiar with. Tell us what they are. And we had a fair amount of responses on the survey from that. I'm not going to spend time reading through this list here because actually the task force tried to digest this information, and we'll talk at the end of the discussion about kind of what the final outputs were of that event. So the second part of the survey, so that's customer drivers, the high-level performance objectives of industrial machine builders. The second part of the survey focused on the customer strategies. So again, these are the machine level objectives or technology strategies that the machine builders are using to help them achieve those high-level objectives, those drivers. And we followed a very similar process for this series of questions. We brought our industrial task force together to look at what had been identified as customer strategies on the last roadmap and discuss their potential applicability to the industrial market. The first 7 on this list that you see, automation, compactness, connectivity, energy efficiency, maintenance, materials, and noise, were all part of the last roadmap that we did, but not precision control. So again, as part of that dialogue with the task force, it felt it was important to test precision control, the ability to manage a system or process with high accuracy and minimal error as a potential strategy in use, if you will, on those industrial machines. And so then we started asking the same kinds of questions on the survey. If you're familiar with a particular market, rank or rate how important each of those customer strategies are for those markets. Again, everything seems to be important to some degree. 91% of the choices that were available to the survey responders here were rated as at least somewhat important. So again, above 3 on that 1 to 5 scale. But here again, I'm using those color codes to sort those averages into the quintiles of their response range. Here, the highest average score was 4.75. The lowest average score was 2.62. And again, the green and the dark green and the light green are those that, again, scored in the upper 40% of that potential response range. Again, that really shows good thing we asked about precision control, because that clearly came out as one of the most important technology strategies that are being used by these industrial customers. Maintenance strategies being another very important one. And then probably automation. Again, a lot of variability across the different markets in terms of what seems to be important. Connectivity coming out as fairly important for medical equipment and robotics and assembly and vehicle manufacturing. Energy efficiency coming out is pretty important for semiconductor machinery. But a lot of good intelligence here in terms of what kind of technology strategies are being deployed in these industrial marketplaces. We also then asked, again, forced choice, pick one. Tell us which of those customer strategies is the most important for the markets that you're identified with. And again, a fairly broad distribution of options here. A lot of dark green, if you will, again, in those 3 columns: precision control, maintenance, and automation. So those are very frequently being chosen as the most important customer strategies in those spaces. But here again, some of the numbers themselves are quite low. So if you can squint your eyes, take a look at plastics and rubber machinery as an example. There were actually 2 that were tied at 24% of the responders: automation and maintenance. The next one was precision control at 19%, and then there were 2, energy efficiency and materials, that came in at 14%. I'm not sure that's a consensus about anything for for plastics and rubber machinery, but it seems like most of these customer strategies have some importance and some applicability to all of the different markets that we're looking at. And then again, we asked, what did we not ask about? Are there other technology strategies that you find important in those customer markets? Fewer responses than before in this space. Some of them are duplicative with what we heard before, but there were some additional suggestions as well. So all of that information and all of that data was then reviewed at the early March meeting that we had of our industrial task force. And we had to have a discussion around, based on that information, what are we going to prioritize and define as the customer drivers and strategies for the new industrial roadmap that we're putting together, and that will then be used to kind of drive the rest of the conversations in that space. So a lot of words on this slide, I know, but it's really the end result of that dialogue. We're going with 4 customer drivers as the 4 most important. Machine builders want to provide their customers with industrial machines that offer increased availability and uptime, increased productivity and performance, compliance with regulations, and lower total cost of ownership. And to achieve those objectives, the industrial machine builders that we're talking about are deploying what we're going to call these 9 customer strategies, objectives or technologies that they're deploying on those machines to help them deliver those top-level performance objectives. And as you can read there, they are automation, incorporating semi or fully autonomous functions on those machines, compactness, finding ways to increase the power density of the machine without increasing its weight or size, connectivity, and that by that we mean expanding the use of data for a bunch of different functions on the machine, cloud-based conditioning, integration with site management systems, etc. Electrification was an interesting discussion on the call. This is my least favorite definition of electrification, but it seems to be a real trend that's happening, and that is actually moving towards electric actuation in attempts to improve efficiency or control on these industrial machines. When the mobile group talks about electrification, it's almost always um, replacing the internal combustion engine with an electric power source of some kind to drive the machine or its machine functions. Here on the industrial side, electrification is actually moving towards electric or electromechanical actuation on the machine itself. Energy efficiency, finding ways to increase it, finding ways to reduce environmental impact, strategies to make maintenance and support functions easier, improving that precision control function, and improving the safe use of the machine, round out the other main technology or customer strategies that we've identified and will now be using for the remainder of the roadmap. And then the last fun exercise that we did with the task force, okay, now that we have these drivers identified and we have these customer strategies identified, let's map them together. Knowing that some of the customer strategies are helping the industrial customers achieve potentially multiple customer drivers, it's sometimes helpful to look at which ones have that kind of multiple appeal, if you will. I call this sometimes our little spider web of lines. We color code them, so hopefully they're a little easier to follow. But take a look at automation. That's probably the easiest one to look at. It's up there at the top. You can see the 3 red lines coming off the red box. That is automation. That indicates that technology strategies associated with automation are helping these machine builders achieve 3 of their drivers: increased availability and uptime, increased productivity and performance, and lower total cost of ownership. And you can look through the rest of those customer strategies and follow the colors to get a better sense of how these strategies are mapping into those higher level objectives. Energy efficiency is a real interesting one in that regard because there's 4 lines coming out of that box. That's touching all 4 of the customer drivers. Environmental impact is another interesting one. There's only 1 line coming out of environmental impact that seems to be solely associated with compliance with regulations, at least based on the dialogue and discussion that we had with our industrial task force. So that's really the work that's been performed so far. As I said, this is the beginning of a longer process. We've defined now the first 2 pieces of our new industrial roadmap, the drivers and the strategies. So we're going to be moving now into, I think, what I called phase 3, which is identifying the capability improvements, knowing what we now know about that industrial marketplace in terms of what those machine builders are trying to achieve with their machines and what technology strategies they're deploying. How well does fluid power align with those strategies? And what can fluid power be doing differently, or what new developments do we want to see within fluid power so that fluid power can either remain or increase its applicability as a actuation technology of choice within those strategies. And to help us do that, we've got 2 surveys out right now. We would encourage, they're actually closing tomorrow. So you have time, if you haven't done it yet, to help us gather some data about fluid power in those spaces. The QR codes obviously are here on the screen. There's one survey that really focuses on hydraulics. There's a second survey that focuses on pneumatics, both how well those 2 technologies are relating to the customer strategies that we've identified as part of our roadmap. So that's the end of my presentation. I hope that information was helpful. I can entertain any questions if there are any. You can either unmute yourself and go ahead and ask, or type something into the chat if there's any questions.
Hey, Eric. Quick question regarding, because we're focusing on industrial applications, and we know that in the mobile market, J1939 is a primary communication protocol.
Right.
In the industrial market, where do you see the communication standards being in the next coming years? Because currently CAN and analog is kind of the norm, but I'm assuming there's something new on the horizon that you might have heard of as being a primary focus of customers.
Yeah, that's a great question, and apologies that it's not really my area of expertise. I know that there are a lot of different communication protocols that are being used around the industrial space, and that there are multiple efforts by other organizations to seek standardization and to deploy standard protocols. I know that the AMT, as an example, has a standard that they use or that they suggest people use. I think that's an area that we'll have to like dig into as we go through the next several stages of this road mapping process to see whether there is innovation in that space and how well that potentially could be a developmental strategy for fluid power to make sure that it's compliant or available, if you will, to those communication strategies.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Not a question, but a comment, Eric, that we absolutely love this. Use it daily in our discussions in the business, and I've watched this evolve over time. The drivers have consolidated a bit and
Yep.
more concise. So really appreciate the effort.
I appreciate that. Was John Fenske talking, I think. So I appreciate those comments. Yeah, it's interesting and kind of a little fun to apply this strategy or this process, if you will, to this specific environment. Because it's interesting to see, what's different and what's more important, if you will, in this space. So a lot of development to come.
Yeah, that's great. Really appreciate it.
Any other questions? All right. Well, again, appreciate people's joining me today. We did record this, so we'll make the recording available to all NFPA members following this. And again, if anybody's interested in helping and participating in these discussions, they're rich and robust, and it gives you the opportunity to better understand the marketplace and to connect with supply chain partners who are also participating. Just drop me a note, send me an email, or put a note in the chat, and we'll get you plugged in. Appreciate it.